myself on a bad shower job once again. Been on YouTube for many years, posting videos like this for a specific reason. And the reason is really trying to get people on point to know what they don't know prior to getting a tile job done, or any job for that matter that has to do with your bathroom. So coming into this bathroom, this guy came in and he did his floor tile, and he did a pretty good job on the floor tile, if I don't say so myself. He did an offset staggering that has no pattern to it, which is kind of what wood is all about. Wood plank tile is not really supposed to have a pattern because wood flooring doesn't really have a pattern. At first I was kind of miffed because he's using white thin set, and normally you would have a darker grout, but the homeowner told me that they want to go with a lighter grout, so therefore he used a lighter thin set, and that's all good, no problem there. There's a couple of areas here that have some slight lippage, but I was also told that he used a leveling system, and it seemed to work out for him because I'm not really seeing anything that stands out to me. And this is a nice tile. It's a rectified tile, which means it's square, which is always a good thing, and you know, everything's matching up, and it's got good cuts going on, somewhat. There's a big gap there on that one, but that's not a huge deal. It's just odd that, yeah, it's just very odd. Anyway, I don't know what this guy's experience is. Doing a tile job like this is relatively easy. With an inch gap here where the baseboard used to go is very weird, unless it almost seems like he took the baseboard out as an afterthought, because that would be about the thickness of the baseboard minus the quarter round. So that kind of throws me. In fact, that's what it looks like happened here, that he took the baseboard out afterward. Although the nails aren't bent, I don't know. Sometimes I scratch my head on stuff. It's just a large gap to have to deal with. There's no reason you couldn't have taken it all the way up there, and then the baseboard would have overlapped it. I mean, he did it here, so why not on the other end? I don't know. So I kind of look at that stuff when I first come into a situation that I'm encountering here, and this is kind of very much of a hodgepodge of different things going on that I want to get into, because apparently, so the history is that he had come in and he had contracted to tile this floor. That's all he was here for. And he did an okay job tiling the floor. With a few discrepancies that I've already mentioned, he came in and did the floor. And then the homeowner talked about, you know anybody that does shower work, and he's like, oh, I can build a shower. And that is usually the story that I hear over and over again, that the tile guy was going to do the shower. Or sometimes handyman is going to do the shower or whatever. And I'm not taking away that some of these guys don't know stuff. I mean, I know a lot of stuff other than tile. I know plumbing and electrical, and I know HVAC and appliance repair and all that stuff. So it's not weird that a handyman could not build a shower. But with regard to the due diligence and all that stuff, finding out what he does know, asking questions, stuff like that. So when I put out information on my videos, which I'm getting ready to do right now, it's for the homeowner's benefit. It's for a DIYer's benefit. Somebody that's going to hire somebody needs to have some basic knowledge of how a shower is put together. And going forward, when they start getting into some of the issues that they get into, this guy was here apparently for 3 weeks. So by day 1 or day 2 or day 3, you're seeing some of these mistakes being made. That's the reason I do the videos. Specifically, that's the reason I do the videos. For the homeowner's consumption, for the person who's going to contract somebody out, that they know what they don't know. Because any one of these mistakes, of and in themselves, would be a red flag and a heads up. So I'm going to go through as succinctly as I can. It's a little difficult because there's so much stuff going on here that I want to talk about. Hardy backer. I don't care what if it's hardy backer, if it's cardboard, if whatever it is that goes on your wall, kind of sort of has to match up. And it's just like he just gutted this. It looks like hammer marks everywhere. So there was no straight line or anything going on. Kind of butchered a lot of this stuff. I don't like hardy backer personally, because although he was able to, no, he didn't countersink. A couple of these are flush, but HardieBacker is a very dense material, and you end up with these screw heads that are popped out, and you can't really countersink them very well. And that's the reason I specifically don't like HardieBacker. But then again, it doesn't really matter what your backer board is as long as you waterproof it. And he did waterproof it, and there's a couple of coats of RedGuard on here. Don't know that he went up high enough. I mean, there's no reason not to go up to the shower head level, but you know, he didn't go up high enough. And then he butchered this area also, which there's no reason to do that. A couple other things before we start getting into the pan, because that's a hot mess, as they say in the South. So at first I thought this was a mud guard, and then as I took a flashlight, because the lighting is kind of poor in here, as I took a flashlight and looked at it, it's not the mud guard. Kohler, I believe, is a brand of this shower valve, because I've run into Kohler a few times and they have a different type of setup. So this plastic encasement on this valve is there for a reason. The screws, you have a couple of screws at the bottom, and I would imagine at the top, but they got covered by the tile. So he's following the pattern of the circle here, and he did it with a grinder, so not even a wet saw, which, okay, whatever. So he did it with a grinder and got, you know, kind of a good cut, but then he didn't follow suit going around to open that up. And I don't know the reason for that. I would have to look at the instruction book, but there's no way this faceplate is where your escutcheon eventually goes onto. And yeah, so it's kind of sort of problematic, but he kind of should have looked at the instruction to make sure that his parameter was okay. So getting to this tile here, this is a shaved rock tile, which is fortunately the same size as this tile, and he was able to, and this is the same size as the porcelain tile, so yeah, he got kind of lucky there. He didn't have to bump anything out. On normal mosaic you have to bump out 1/4 inch, but all this tile is somewhat flush, although there's a little bit of lippage going on, but that's due mainly to the fact that he just globbed on the thin set. I can clearly feel this globs going on. So, which is kind of weird because there's a lot of dichotomies that are going on here. At first he's troweling, and then he's not. And then there's no trowel marks going on. Well, and there's a trowel mark, but then there's not trowel marks over here. So I don't know. The thin set is just kind of globbed on, and it doesn't make any sense to have that happen, but you know, that's what he did. Another kind of weird thing that I noticed as I was talking to the homeowner, so the pattern goes full tile, half tile, full tile, half tile, and then nothing. And then offset over there, and then offset over there. Like, there's no definitive pattern going on in the back. There's nothing definitive going on the side. There's a stair-step pattern going on the left wall, and it's kind of the same hodgepodge that this is and everything else is. So anyway, I guess what I'm getting, look here. This is flat. There's no slope on here whatsoever. And the shower head is completely opposite. So without a doubt, water would have kind of permeated in this area, and eventually mold and mildew would have happened. In fact, it might even slightly go in that direction. This is a full tile, and this is a 3/4, and the factory edge is on that side instead. Yeah, the two factory edges should have met here, and then that cut piece should have been there, but it also should have been split. Splitting the difference would have been the way I would have done it. Again, same thing, too much thin set and then just pushed in there, and yeah, thin set kind of popping out, and then a big gap over there. Not that it matters, and I don't know the shelf portion of this. It's not what the homeowner had intended, obviously, and there is a chipped off piece here with this shelf thing going on, but without nitpicking too much. There's a little lippage going on over here. The walls really aren't that bad. The walls are kind of like the floor, so he did use a leveling system to some extent, but there's a couple areas that he definitely didn't, and where he didn't, it's right there is one of them, and then where was I at? Over here is another one. So that kind of sort of matters at the end of the day. Now, to the floor area, which I don't know, I can't hold back on this. This is just screwed up beyond any type of, look, I mean, I don't even know what to say about this. Like, I don't even probably have to say anything, because a lot of this, when I go on these jobs where somebody else has done the work that hasn't built a shower before, there's so many mess ups that I can't even, I try the best I can to figure out where their brain was at, to figure out what they were thinking when they started doing this stuff. And sometimes I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what they were doing. I guess the best I can, but at the end of the day, I really don't know. So even where the wallboard, which I didn't notice up there, oddly enough, see, this is a dichotomy that I'm talking about. He filled in that gap between the two wallboards here, but down here, the gap never got filled, you know, prior to the red guard being put on. I wonder, no, he didn't fill that one either. So what good is a red guard if you have that big 1/4 inch gap at the bottom where the red guard matters the most? I don't know. That's why I said I kind of quit guessing on stuff. Glob of thin set. There's no reason for that. This shaved rock tile, once you have your pan screeded properly, which I'm going to get into, he didn't do, once you have that done, this rock tile is relatively easy to set. It sets flat to the floor. Everything should be flush. All these tiles should be flush. Way, way, way too much thin set being used. Way, way, way too much. And then big gaps going on. A cut piece that it's actually stuck in the thin set. Yeah, so, and then this is really tripping me out too. There's a bunch of pan liner shoved back here, more than you see actually. As I push my finger back there, it's like there's 4 layers of pan liner going on. So rather than fold it up against the wall, he just folded it over the curb. And then he got in trouble because it's like, what do we do now? We can't even put backer board on here. How is it possible to put backer board on here? And then that side, I don't know, he managed to shove it all back there. And the backer board is not flush, of course, with the wall because he shoved it all back there like here. But unlike over there, he never did this little, yeah. So he ran into a lot of problems, which means he never built a shower. So I already knew that. He puts backer board on the back of the curb, but he doesn't put it on the front of the curb. He puts backer board on the sides here and lifts it up above, but look how far he shaved the rock. It doesn't make any sense. Stuck rock way back there, which is okay, but then shaved it off an inch off of the wallboard over here. It's just, like I said, a lot of things don't make sense. Another thing doesn't make sense. This is a skateboard ramp. I'm going to call it that because it's like huge. It goes up here. It just like it starts from almost nothing here and then just goes up directionally that direction so far, and then back here very, very little slope going on at all, and over here there's absolutely no slope, and there's lippage on the rock because he used too much thin set setting all this rock. Let me get out of here. So there's going to be water pooling. If this was a functional shower, which I'm not sure it is right now, but if it was, there's going to be water pooling definitely in this area. And then around this area, this rock is dipped down, that rock is dipped down, that one is dipped down, meaning that there's lippage on the top of the drain, which means there's going to be water pooling. This one definitely is. This one is about flush, maybe a little bit higher, and that one's dipped down. And then that one has no gap at all, so there'll never be any grout there because he put too much thin set, again, when he set the shaved rock tile. I don't know what's under it. I don't know how he managed to make everything happen here. I don't know. I know he's never built a shower for all these reasons I've enumerated, but we don't know what's under it. We don't know that it's watertight. Apparently he did a flood test, but I don't know if the flood test was with the pan liner or with the mortar and the red guard. I don't know. But the homeowner did insist that he put a couple of 2 or 3 coats of red guard on the pan surface. I just don't know what he did around the drain, and that kind of matters because if you don't red guard right up to the drain and put some caulking around there, you're still going to have some leakage going in, and I don't know that. There's a lot of things I don't know, but I know one thing: this guy's never built a shower, but he got attracted to the price because it was more than he was getting for the floor, and that's pretty typical. It's not the first time. Then we have this little conundrum. So he was going to end the, because I asked, how was he going to end the tile? And, you know, it doesn't come with bullnose. Well, you know, he told me to go out and get 4 of these. And then, what he did, he didn't leave himself a gap. So he clearly put thin set all the way up to the edge of the tile, tried to shove it in there, I guess at some point when it was wet. It wasn't working for him, for whatever reason, I don't really know. And so he told the homeowner to take it back. He wasn't going to use it. But it would have looked sharp. That's the way it should have looked. There's no reason that, I mean, it matches up. But the problem is that, so when I use, and I'm going to call it by default Schluter, but you know, it's just a trim piece that everybody makes. I usually come off, this is about 1 inch going front to back. This distance from my finger to my thumb is about 1 inch. So I come off my tile probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches. No thin set goes on this tile at all. I finish out the whole job. I have this void that's in here, and then later on, last day, when I'm doing all my trim and everything, that's when I fill in that void and I shove thin set in there with my putty knife, and I get it in there really deep. And then I just slide just slide it right in there. It works like a charm every time. That's the way he could have rectified that, but he doesn't know that because he's never built a shower. So these are the unfortunate circumstances that I get into time and again, and I've tried to impress upon people, you know, to not oversee to the point of, you know, bugging the contractor, but, you know, there's no reason you can't ask him questions about your job, because ultimately you're paying for all of this stuff. Same as if you're having your car paid for, you know, or you go to the hospital, have your health taken care of, ask questions. And so, so starting from the very beginning of the video, this is the reason I post these videos continuously, because even if I don't do the job, I want to put this information out there so that other people are forewarned. I think last year I had at least 2 jobs, or maybe it was 3, that they saw day one, because they had watched my videos prior, that the guy wasn't doing certain things, so they got rid of him, and they saved a boatload of money. And that's the reason I post the videos. That's specifically the reason why. You know, yes, they hired me in the end, but it didn't matter if they hired me or somebody else. They got rid of the guy and therefore saved themselves some money. And that's my purpose, I guess, in life lately. And so for that reason alone, if you're watching this video and you learn something, then, you know, great. That's the reason I post them. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't like to see stuff like this, because it just means more than likely a lot of this stuff can be salvaged if he didn't. Another thing that I had noticed, there's a lot of the red guard showing through these cracks. So regardless, and despite that he troweled out some thin set somewhere, I don't assume he did it everywhere, because I should be able to see red guard, and it clearly shows through those cracks. He should have troweled out his thin set on the entire wall, and that back buttress tile, look at that. So more than likely, a lot of these tile can be saved, because, you know, they're not cheap. These are, each tile, I think is about probably $2.69 a square foot, so you're looking at about $4 or $5 per tile, and hopefully that can be done. But whether or not I do this job is kind of irrelevant. It matters to me that I put the information out there, so hope you got something from it. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post a video. And thank you very much for your support.